Oh, welcome. Greetings, everybody. Welcome to the Art Lexcia podcast. It's Wesley Pepper. It's episode 201. So, yeah, much love to that. And to all the new and returning listeners, if you haven't already, smash that subscribe button. I will appreciate it if you haven't. Also, I have a few other announcements to make, but I'll do that on my social media pages because since the last episode, we've actually been doing more internal testing on Gallery 360. So that's really exciting stuff. I was actually looking to do a separate episode on that, but I thought I'll just hold back a bit because, yeah, I held back. But anyway, that's to do with that. Today we're talking about a production called Invisible. It's by the Forgotten Angle Theatre collaboration with PJ Sabacha. You know, we spoke to him a few times. The people behind shit. What was that festival called again? It's on my mind. Anyway,
My Body, My Space.
My Body, My Space. There we go. I could see the poster, but I couldn't. Anyway, well, we're talking to them. We're talking to Tshego, and she's from there. She's working there. Firstly, my sister, we had a nice little meet and greet before we started to speak. I feel I know you already. I feel I know you already. So,
right.
Firstly, good morning. Welcome. How are you?
Hello. I'm fantastic. I'm even better hearing that you have just hit past your 200 episodes mark. And I hope that the audience that you are speaking to, I presume on the socials, will come up there and shout you out and tell you what their favorite episodes have been and what their favorite content has been. And celebrate Wesley, who I think has a great name and deserves to be famous. So celebrating these episodes will at least make it feel like you're a celebrity.
Numbers matter. In podcasting, it matters. So 200 is a nice number. Thank you for that.
Big deal. Yeah.
So
thank you.
Like I mentioned, I spoke to I talk to every single genre. But as you know, I'm a visual artist and I focus more on that. Or at least I like to. But anyway, today we're talking about an interesting production called Invisible. It's also got an interesting spelling with the in and the visible. It's put together. It's the the lead is Janeth Mulapha, or Janeth. I'm not sure how you pronounce that, from Mozambique. Very interesting, man. Janeth. Janeth. Yeah. Very, very interesting production, man. I know it's taking place. It starts off tomorrow, which is on the 4th of October. But let's start at the beginning, man. Firstly, just tell us about your relationship or what you do with the Forgotten Angle Theatre Company, and then we'll talk about the production.
Cool. I'm going to veer off just thinking about you saying you're a visual artist and wondering how that might live in a work like this that is about visibility and invisibility. And there's just such interesting texture that as a creative maker of theater, we are dance theater people. I immediately hearing that you're a visual artist went, oh, I wonder how that might live in this kind of work. Anyway, I am Tshego Khutsoane. I work for the Forgotten Angle Theatre Collaborative, which is a dance, theatre, arts, and social justice organization based in Mpumalnga. We have a flagship festival that Wesley's just pointed to called My Body, My Space Public Arts Festival. It's just turned 10 years this year. So in the spirit of celebrating big things, we are 10 this year and the organization is 30 this year and has been widely lauded for making issue-based work. And that is how we got approached by the National Arts Festival and the French Institute, which were premiering a program at the National Arts Festival called Third Space. And the idea around that program was to get together community art centers and established choreographers from across the continent, and to make work that would premiere in the Community Arts Center and then later premiere at the National Arts Festival. And yeah, we then... developed a proposal for it to come alive again and tour. And this is why we're here, because there was some success in that proposal, and we've got a jam-packed kind of hard and fast production tour coming up.
Yeah. We'll get to the production tour. And it's cool because it cuts across many cities, and we'll get to that. But really interesting. One of the big things about Invisible is that it's to do with blindness. So I did an interview. I think I did it twice. With Moving Into Dance, where they had a production with a disabled person on stage. So I thought that was really cool, man. That sort of breaks boundaries in terms of what you expect in terms of theater. Because but to be visually impaired must be, that just puts another spin on it, man. So just tell us firstly how the production actually came to being and what's it about, and then we'll unpack it bit by bit.
Yeah, so when National Arts Festival and the French Institute approached us and paired us with Janeth, our conversations around kind of creative impulse and conversation that she'd like to have with the work came up. And we discovered that she had been working with people living with blindness. And something that stuck out quite strongly was the experience of people who are living or who have come through sudden blindness. And that became the entry point of the creative process, where she brought to the space the stories, the experiences, and kind of the sensory offerings. And part of the conversation also that developed was, what kind of assaults us in society that we render ourselves blind to issues, and is it because of survival, or what are the influences that make us consciously make ourselves invisible? What are trauma responses that make things invisible, and what are the types of things that make certain things visible to us? And some of the thematics that come around there is it's the doom scrolling. It's that every morning that you wake up, there is an assault of news about the world that is overwhelming. There's our living circumstances that are overwhelming. There's socioeconomic issues. There's our lived experiences that really stretch us to have to pick a struggle, right? So that is kind of what's explored and what we invite an audience to interrogate within themselves. And I think on some level it becomes a moral dilemma, and on some it becomes a peacemaking exercise. Is to go, what are you awake to and what are you not awake to, and so what, and now what? Yeah.
Interesting. Sure. Just a point. It seems like blindness is more metaphor for many other things, not the actual physical condition of being able to see. So that sort of opens up. I guess it opens up to a lot of different interpretations. Also interesting you mentioned being overwhelmed with bad news. That's a very 2025 thing. That's yeah, I can it's I almost wanted to make you talk about something else. Let me just pull it back to so the production. Tell us a little bit about the actual production. I was looking at some of the screenshots or photos of it. So some of the dancers have I guess like eyes drawn on them, with paper. And you've also got a huge cast and team behind it. So tell us a little bit about the actual production itself, man. Is there a story to it? Is it very interactive with the audience? Yeah.
The production kind of enters us into a world. And it's kind of a liminal space, which I think is interesting in the way that we have even named the production, because it's bracketed the word in, and then you see the word invisible, and it kind of activates both words, the word invisible and the word visible. And so it enters us into a kind of dreamscapey. The word forest has been used with the scenographer and the lighting designer and the choreographer, and it is kind of a nowhere land and an everywhere land. And there is a voice that kind of speaks to us and then disappears, and we see these vignettes of very evocative kind of story creating choreographic pieces, sequences, if you will, that do play on the metaphor, and the most on the theme, on the topic of invisible, thing that you see in the work is the fact that Janeth made the actors, or invited the actors rather, to play quite literally with this idea of not seeing. So it was quite an evocative and intense process of actors who are used to seeing, explore listening through their bodies, listening through the senses, creating a language with the floor, listening to breath. And it was a really delicious process of interrogating what our privileges even are in on sensory realm and on physical realm. Like, in what ways are we quite literally seeing and not seeing? The artists are a range of graduates who are kind of new babies to the world, right? The adult world of professionalism. We work with in youth development primarily. So these are literally young adults who have been entered into the professional realm through this kind of work that's quite aggressive in the way that interrogates seeing and not seeing. So you have young people whose minds are being burst open through this process that's interrogating everything that it is as they figure themselves out. You have performers who themselves have the reality of sight loss in their lives, whether it's a family member or themselves. You have big questions, existential questions, or societally influenced questions coming up onto the rehearsal floor. So we have a range of new emerging, you were speaking about earlier, emerging artists and well-established artists who are really confronted in very rich ways through this work, that I think the core story that it holds, or the core thing that the audience can hook into, is the fact that, oh, there's literal not seeing here, but that becomes the gateway to the metaphoric and the symbolic activations that the bodies create through the repetition, through bodies and props and lighting. So the sensation, I don't know if you know that there's a sensation sometimes where you can, even if your eyes are closed and a torch is shone on your eye, you can feel that sensation. So
Yeah.
that kind of play of playing with, even though I can't see, there is something about light when my eyes are closed that is still active, and it kind of coming into an awakening with things we know, but that we also don't know simultaneously. It's
Yeah.
really fresh. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's got moments of delicacy, beautiful, intimate pictures, vignettes, and it's got moments of really quite violent, is even the word that you can use, because I have sat with that feeling of like, oof, this is hard. This is hard on my body, it's hard on my senses, it's hard on my heart. And it can be hard to watch. So to really interrogate this the experience of being in the shoes of and outside the shoes of witness to, or in the shoes and witness to through your body, and
Wow.
out of the shoes imagining. It's very layered.
Yeah. Yeah. So definitely sounds like that. Just an interesting point you mentioned, like with those other senses. that you're talking about. I was actually reading something probably still this week about we, as you know, we always say that there's five senses, but I think science proves that there's actually more. For example, balance, that is one, and there's a few others, but I know there's
Yes,
a
yes,
thing
yes.
where you as you say, if you close something, you sort of feel your other senses come alive, and there's other, yeah, I get that. That's and just another interesting point on that. You know, in with art, in experiencing art, it works with the senses. So the people who come to the audience will look, hear, in some cases touch, or even smell, or even yeah, different things, and that really changes how they perceive, and how they take in the work. Like you're saying, it's very layered. Um, you're working with a young crew.
Yeah, it's just
You
amplified. It's very
that's the word.
amplified, you know?
You guys started the production
Yeah.
started at the National Arts Festival early on this year. So tell us about that. How
No,
was that
last year,
taken?
2024 premiere.
Oh, last year. Okay.
It was last year. Yeah, it was last year.
What was it? What was
It
that
we
production?
you know,
How did the audience take to it?
I don't know because I wasn't there. But when so we had a premiere, if you will, at our center in rural Mpumalnga, and it was a smash hit for all the good, bad, and complex reasons that it activates. You know, so it's been very, very, very powerfully received. For me, in my opinion, unfortunately, we were right at the start of the festival last year, so I don't think we had enough eyes on the work that I would have liked. So I think that this tour coming up is going to be a real teller on that initial showcase at FATC last year, and confirming that it is the bad boy that we think that it is. It's really something.
Yeah, the bad way. I like that. Another question I wanted to ask you about is the team behind it. There's quite a big team. There's Jenna Lee crew, who's part of the, and she with Mulapha sit and put together the whole thing. But she's got
The
another
sonographer
many other members.
being
Tell us a little bit about them. Can you highlight a few who's involved and their
yeah.
involvement?
So Janeth is a concept holder, choreographer, really the container. Working closely with Jenny Lee Crew as a sonographer, which is a fancy word for designer. So really looks at the design concepts of the work. She has created the forest feel, or like the devices that kind of enter us into this everywhere but nowhere land. So there is a structure that looks like a tree with kind of prismy details that bounce light off of them. They are for this rendition or this chapter of the work are introducing more light so that the production can be more independently running and not dependent on theatre structures as we know them, the proscenium arch and the formal lighting practices, that it can be kind of a performance that comes out of a suitcase and can be performed anywhere. Where do you want us? Cool. We can erect this thing and show you something powerful. So she's come up with the entryways into the everywhere, nowhere. And on the costume, she does some really amazing things. There's kind of a fighting thematic in the way that you see that the actors are dressed. It evokes boxer kind
Okay.
of themes, or yeah. So which just works. She plays on gender dynamics through very particular props. I say she, Janet, but actually it's both of them because they realize. There's Promise Mosoma, who is a new graduate who had just newly graduated when she joined the production. what a talent, what a powerhouse of a young performer. It was incredible that she got snatched up by Janeth, because I think she has a crazy future ahead of her. In fact, she's in a new work that I think will continue to launch her. Another superpower of a performer is Promise Mahopa, who was a previous intern many years ago, many years before the other Promise. And she brings, even though she's physical theater trained, having gone through our youth intern program, is a remarkable singer. And that's what she holds space for in the performance. There's kind of a haunting quality. I told you earlier about the voices that speak in this everywhere nowhere space, and she's that voice. She brings quite a poetic quality, but also this evokes this wail, this cry, this reaching into a realm with her singing. And then there is Nicholas Apane, who is a FATC staff member and dancer, sound mad magician. And he worked with Janeth in 2019, and they worked on some incredible improv, contact improv, flying low influenced. That's a discipline in the performing in dance performance that Nico has really taken to. And I think they just hit it off. And so he was a no-brainer when she stepped into working with us this time around. And Kaldi Makutike, who is also just such a conceptually but also technically talented artist who, to me, don't come for me, Kaldi, but rather ask me to motivate when you watch this. To me, is quite performance artsy in his approach to his dance work. I'm a fan. I'm a fan. So Kaldi, when you come from me, start with the fact that I am coming from a place of deep respect. And then there are some women in tech. There are women in tech behind the lighting design of the work. That are just, what do I say about them? I don't. There's something to me about women in technical what do we call it, professions, that just blows my mind. So that's why I'm suddenly just like beaming when I speak about Awande Dube, who is holding this leg of the production.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you. It was,
Yeah.
I feel I know the entire team, and it also sounds
Yeah.
like you say, very layered. Sounds very, very layered, and it sounds very conceptual, man. It's actually just a point on conceptual work, on conceptual art. I was actually reading I was actually reading a very critical article on. I don't think I'm gonna call out the. No, let me rather not call out the show. Where
Why are
we
you
are just.
hiding? Why are you hiding?
I don't really like to call out as a podcast. I don't like to poke the bear, man. Other people can do that. I
Oh,
just like to
so
poke.
what you're about to say feels like bear poking. Okay, no, I thought
Well,
it was like a
okay.
shout
Now
out.
you put me on a spot. Okay, so one of the major art fairs in the country. Basically, the point I'm trying to say
Okay,
is
cool.
that there's a lot of work that is that's not provocative enough, that is not challenging audience enough, that is not really, not necessarily speaking truth to power, but that is not really pushing any artistic boundaries. That is not really, but you get what I'm saying. So I get
I do.
I get a sense that because it is so late and it's dealing with so many different senses, that you are really trying to challenge the audience's perception on everything, really. And you're really trying to not to make the audience necessarily come uncomfortable, but to push them and to stir, I guess, what's the word, stir the pot. Is that accurate?
Yes. Yeah, that feels accurate. And actually, in the way that you in the way that you've just spoken, I realize that we are doing the same in the ways that we bring teams together. Like, people who get platforms are typically not the kind of mix that we have brought together. People who you see in the kinds of roles that we have occupied in this work are not women in tech. You know, it's and respectfully, guys, let's speak about the systems to which we belong. That we are in white supremacist
Oh yeah.
capitalist societies that
Oh yeah.
place the white man experience first. So I'm not beefing when I say in this work, in your tech and in your sound space, you are
Oh
more
yeah.
seeing white male bodies than black male, and especially not black female bodies. So the fact that we have two women on lighting, on the technical aspects of the work, Pumeza Damani and Awande Dube, is mind-blowing, who belong to a network of female technicians run by an equally miraculously colored identifying woman, colored self-celebrating woman called Melanie Extian, is uncommon. So that these people have authority space, that you have a 20-year-old next to a 40-something-year-old as an equal is not something that's quite done. In
Yeah.
these art fair spaces, you want to have the most celebrated, the most established, the most
Yeah.
high paid as the person that you want to be shouting out from the rooftops.
Yeah.
So I think in the way that you speak, we challenge on many levels. The fact that we are a rural space that is pushing out such
That's also a
powerful
very
work,
interesting.
the fact that we've been celebrated from the margins. I think
Yeah.
that's exactly what we're talking about here, is marginality being centered. Okay?
No, I agree with you there. Now that it's on my mind, just another angle to it. Also the unfortunate, it is way too common in my opinion that whenever you get a group of black or mixed race or brown, whatever, people together, the product usually somehow always celebrates some form of poverty and sort of glorifies some form of
Yes.
where it's where
Yes.
it's
Poverty porn.
always exactly. I was gonna say that, and it's something I'm incredibly critical of, and frustrated by it. And it's all over. It's in literature, it's in music, it's in visual art, it's it's in movies,
All
theater.
over.
It is all over. And it's sort of I think it's very insulting on black people in general to say that, whenever we go want to view or consume art, we want to consume poverty porn. We want to look at kids with no shoes, with no tech. Yeah, so I just
As if
felt like
that
it was very.
validates the space we get to take up.
It's also a way of comforting and making people used to the fact that, whenever you get the most talented people in the world that come together, all they can think about is poverty. It's something I find actually quite insulting, and it has been going on for way too long. It's been going on for way too long, and if it's up to me, I
Yeah.
think their time is done. And that narrative, unfortunately, is championed by certain gatekeepers and so forth and so forth. And it's just something I got a personal investment in that, and I actually draw the line under that. So yeah, man, I just wanted to raise that. Another point, another question.
Which is actually also something we can celebrate with the French Institute, the embassies. That even though that they have been a spark in this process, they have been a spark that's not taken center, and that's something that's quite impressive, in my opinion. They haven't taken up space in a way that says, "Know that it's us and we have," and They really have gone here, guys. Here,
Here's your
that
budget. Just
there
do
is
it.
something in the way that they have operated on the back of what you are saying, that has positioned them as a quiet ally, because some allies can also be loud. You know,
Sometimes too
they've been
loud.
a
Yeah.
quiet, fire sparking
Yeah.
ally. Yeah, that I respect, at least in the ways that I've observed these kinds of. You're speaking about gatekeepers. You're speaking about structures that have power over artists, over the culture. Um, Yeah, you're making me aware that actually, no, get quite impressed by you guys. Well done. Thanks for sitting down. Like,
Give me your money and shut up, and I'll give you return on your
thanks.
investment. Just leave the art.
I
Um,
don't know about that.
it's crazy, man. Like I've been involved in way too many projects, which is also why I had to pivot. Where exactly at the money guy actually controls everything,
Mm,
and I think it's quite insulting for somebody to control something
mm,
as uncontrollable like creativity, and to put sort of firewalls or boundaries around creativity,
mm.
and to sort of narrow it down to this little. And it's all because they want to return on investment, and that stuff sucks, man.
Mm, mm,
Interesting point.
mm.
Like, actually, I thought I wasn't going to ask about that, but like, there's a lot of people involved in it, like you were saying, the Free Institution and so forth and so forth. So that's very cool. So which means that what you guys are speaking of appeals to people's pockets, and that on its own is it's quite an interesting topic. Um, but let's get to the
I don't
tour.
know. That's not been proven yet. I don't know.
Uh,
You
okay,
next time we speak, maybe you create a panel with us and we like, and I can be like, guys, so you've been awesome here. Thanks for doing this. Does this appeal to your pockets somehow?
good point.
Wesley thinks so. I'm not convinced yet. But yeah,
Good point. Because
let's see what this tour does.
okay, wait first. Let me add something on top of that. If I look at the local funding, like the
Go for
NEC,
it.
for example, they they don't necessarily curb your creativity, but they definitely don't
Mhm.
give you the resources in order to grow it. The resources they give you is pretty much just to maintain it, and then you have to be very, very, very careful in what you add and what you
I
take
see your
out,
point.
so you don't
I
lose
see your point.
your vision, so you please the money, because
I
they will
see
pull
your
that thing so
point.
quickly, and they will pull that thing as soon as you tread on. And also the thing which I find insulting to artists as well is that in getting funding, 1 year doesn't always guarantee you for next year or the year thereafter. So you have to constantly adapt and sort of and sort of mold yourself to the opinion of power, of authority. And I think that there is a major thing across artists and people across the spectrum stress or deal with that. Shit, man, I can give you so many examples, even on my own. Which is why, and I don't want to pivot too far from Invisible, but that's why I believe that there's definitely a need
But it
for
exists with all of these things that we're talking about, right?
it.
It
Does
exists with,
that
alongside,
that
within.
does
Yeah.
it does and it's frustrating. It's not necessarily just frustrating that it's happening, but the lack of change, given that technology has opened up technology has come in and allowed us to find new markets, to find new funders, new sponsors, and there's very little. Yeah, wait first, man. I'm gonna go on a rant here. There's, you know,
Okay, okay.
there's sometimes
Invisible.
certain topics, and then it just gets to the back of my head or my hair or something, and like just say this, and I'm like, let me just keep it to
And I think
invisible.
the way we started, before we started, is to blame Wesley. So for your audience, Wesley told y'all that we had a nice chinwag there before we started recording. So it's actually our fault. We've
Yeah,
activated each other as individuals in the world who
and it's still
think
so early in the
and
morning,
are
so the whole day
perturbed
is
by
gonna be
certain
full
things.
of. So the whole day is gonna be full of energy and yeah. Um, the tour. So it starts off on the 4th of October, right? It
I
moves
love
to
the way that
Botswana.
came out of you.
It moves to Mozambique, and it moves to Joburg. So tell us a little bit about that. Firstly, just a point on that. That's actually quite interesting. To move around the different SADC countries, given that Mozambique is Portuguese speaking. So the logistics around that must be quite a bit. I mean, there's a lot of traveling, and I mean, you mentioned earlier on that you developed this production where you can just go and set up anywhere. So I mean, that's very cool. So just explain to us, firstly, from the 4th of October's gig to when is the next one, and yeah, you will explain that. The other tours.
Yeah, the logistics are immense and the pockets are tight, but it must happen. At least we start at home base. We are very, very privileged to have established our art center 10 years ago. So and it's beautifully lit that we can house the launch performance of the tour there. So yeah, tomorrow evening at Edhudlweni Arts Center, Nelisiwe Mkawane, who is our administrator, can be contacted if for some reason your audience has somebody in Mpumalnga or in Johannesburg and wants to drive 2.5 hours to go watch the show. It's on at 6:30. Nelly at forgottenangle.co.za.
Yeah,
You must never miss an opportunity, Wesley.
I'll put the details and stuff in the description box just in case. But yeah, please continue.
Awesome. Yeah. So it's going to be primarily road. So we're going to start here. Well, I say here, even though I'm speaking to you from Johannesburg at home base in Mpumalnga. And then we're going to move on to Gaborone. Shout out to our youngins doing their first international tour. How amazing. And we are in Botswana from the 8th to the 9th, I think we are. Yeah, but we're there for the Maitisong Festival. And then we come to Joburg on the 10th to showcase at the 11th at the POPART Theatre. And then end of November, we head to KINANI in Maputo. So between the 24th and the 30th of November.
Okay, so that's 2 months or a month and a bit. That's quite a lot.
Yeah.
And international tour across the SADC countries is very cool, especially this time of the year. The weather's always very nice, so that's
yes,
very cool.
The weather is
not
delicious.
Too warm.
Yes, good point. They're gonna boil in Botswana though. Oh my goodness.
Okay. But it's not high summer.
You're gonna see flames.
Yeah. And I mean, Mozambique's also a beautiful part of the world. Lots of cool sights and scenes there.
It is stunning. Oh, stunning.
That I think, yeah. So just for my listeners, I'll add all the details with regard to tickets, times, and all the stuff in the description box below. Yeah, I think that that covers Invisible. Very cool, Tshego. Definitely triggered, but in a good way. Also, I cut the
right. That's a good one.
Yeah,
and this is just from conversation, Wesley. How insane is that? That's accurate. That you're feeling that.
That's what I.
And
that's
it's just from our conversation. That's intense.
That's what I think about podcasting, man, and what I do, man. I think one of the. Let me just give you this perspective. The type of communities that we build online, I think is kind of underrated. Maybe, yeah. Well, let me just say it's kind of underrated, but I do think there's a shit ton of value there. There's some incredible communities that have been built online on various Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. It doesn't matter. Where you in touch with people doing the same thing, different parts of the world that won't always be necessary without that, and to be in touch with that all the time is great. And it's great, and it's very inspiring as well. And because those networks exist and they just keep growing, that's why I've pivoted everything to sort of monetize, organize, and well, let me start more with organizing those type of communities, and that leads to Gallery 360. So to my listeners, I've been saying this for such a long time. Hopefully, my next episode I'll have a where I sort of break down a few things. Maybe talk to some of the testers, maybe some of the one or two of the developers. I know these guys are very shy and they're not really open for interviews, but I'm trying to squeeze them to do this, because I believe the platform that we're building is needed. It's not a want. It's definitely a need, because we can't exist on Mark Zuckerberg's
Come
network
on.
anymore. We can't exist on that racist Elon Musk's platform anymore. I mean, these guys are spewing horrible propaganda daily. And like you mentioned in the beginning, every day we see this negative stuff there, which I also find is also rerouting artists' conceptual or their brains in terms of how they're conceptualizing or what they are talking about. Which sort of relates back to that poverty porn, because you have all these horrible things and then you just want to create images of poverty and then sell it for money. I find the hypocrisy, the irony, everything there is just over my head, and that I think that time is done. I think that time is done, because I'm not the only one who's frustrated by it. But that's enough ranting and raving about everything. Tshego, this was great, man. My sister, thank you for coming through. This was great. All the best for your
This
production
was
on
great.
I will be following, and also
Thank you.
I'll be
Here's
retweeting
to
and reblogging.
crossing borders with work that breaks through borders. Hey?
Yeah, man, and keep growing, man. And you talking about the money. Maybe they are listening, and that's a good thing. I think. No, it's a very good thing. It's a very good thing. I hope the French and Institute and who else is guys. So there's a whole list of names. I hope they're listening, so they know that we're not always happy, and they need to know that shit. The complacency is a mother.
And they do, Shib. I think they do. Which is why I think me highlighting my appreciation of this relationship dynamic is noted and notable. You know?
Yeah, man. It also gives me.
Man.
I will also go through that list of names there, because clearly the people that there do fun, cool stuff. maybe Gallery 360 will approach them in the not distant future. Who knows?
Yes.
Maybe there's this cross
Yeah,
pollination.
find us individually as artists on, I think the majority on Facebook and Instagram. Find the companies on Facebook and Instagram. Yeah. Let's follow each other doing nice things.
Yeah,
we
man.
really are doing important things.
Just last question. Just give me your for the listeners, the various social media handles where they can find FATC, yourself, and all the other people involved. Is there a website, stuff like that?
Okay. The Forgotten Angle Theatre Collaborative on Facebook. FA_collaborative on Instagram. You can find me by my name, Tshego Khutsoane, on Instagram, or at Guava, the word GUAVA, Joosh, JOOSH.
Okay. Therefore, thank you very much, man. I will, like I said, I'll push the episode out tomorrow, which is Saturday, which will be the 4th. But I'll let you know, and I'll definitely hit you up with regards to the with the testing with the app. If there's something that I can show, and we'll be in touch. So have a very good day, and I'll be in touch.
Oh, I'm looking forward to all of it, and if we are lucky enough to have another podcast conversation, I'm even more so.
Dope, man. I'll keep that in mind for sure. This platform, it needs guests. But I'm kind of blessed that I don't really have a problem finding guests. People are always very keen to come talk to me, which that's not lost. I don't overlook, is that the right word? Yeah, I'm definitely aware of it, and I'm very appreciative of that. Very much so. To my listeners. So if you just my listeners, if you got this far and you haven't already, smash that like and subscribe button. I'll appreciate that too much. My sister, thank you very much, man, and I'll be in touch via WhatsApp. Yeah, have a brilliant rest of the Friday. Rest of your day. Aware. Salute, man. Cheers.
And
bye.
you.
Shop.
Cheers. Bye.